Peace, y'all. It's Mom Sahana here with Beyond Clouds. Like probably most of you know, wherever you're seeing this video, most of you probably know by now that my son, Murid Nishakamakwa, 2 Clouds, was murdered July 3rd, 2022. He was an indigenous rights activist. He was successful in the land back movement in that he had dozens and dozens of acres returned to his father's people, the Ramapo Lenape people. He was a water protector, just a human rights activist, period. And so he did so much for his father's people, the Ramapo Lenape, and he worked closely with some of the Mohawk people, my people, up at Akwesasne. July 3rd, he was found dead. July 6th, he was found dead. July 3rd, he went silent. We couldn't find him. We didn't know where he was. It turned out that the first parcel of land that he secured for the Ramapo people at 95 Halifax Road in Mahwah, New Jersey, their religious land, he was found there in the water, badly decomposed. I have a ton of videos. I'm not going to really go into a lot of that. You can look at, on TikTok is some of the short videos I have there. I have longer videos there. My heart's pounding right now. I have to move on to what this video is about. About maybe a few weeks or so ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I did a very short video on TikTok saying that there was someone who was finally willing to help. That person was the New Jersey Chief State Medical Examiner. As I've stated before, Bergen County Police did zero investigation. I have obtained the 911 transcripts because they said on the one report that was from when they found my son there in the water when they came to get his body, they said that 2 men who was working with the electric company just happened to be walking along. They were doing service right there at the edge of the land where he was found, basically, and that they decided to take a walk along, the land right there. It's really like a big park. Again, I have video showing what it looks like, and that these 2 men found him and called 911, who the 911 dispatch, who in turn dispatched the police. On the 911 transcripts, there's no such call, none, and the representative for the 911 office or whatever, I can't think right now, the office said that no, there was no call that came in. There are cameras all around there. Again, I have videos showing all this. There are cameras there. They didn't actually see the cameras. To this day, no one has asked one single question. They determined before they even left my son for the medical examiner to take that there was no foul play, even though he was found in the water with no shoes on. Again, jewelry and stuff that he always wore, his hunter's knife that he always wore, nothing was there. The canoe was flipped over close by him. A canoe that is unflippable was flipped over. Let me say too, the local police there are very well aware of who my son was. The Bergen County establishment is very aware of who my son is, and everybody knew him. Everybody knew he was always on that water. He used to wade through the water and all this kind of stuff. They did nothing. They knew that he had complaints about people trying to hurt him and kill him before. According to the tribal police, in a fraudulent letter that he sent to the medical examiner, the Bergen County medical examiner, the day after my son was found, said that he couldn't, the chief that he had filed a criminal complaint just a couple of weeks before, because the now fired, but at the time, the C-Pain leader, who, you know, had this whole big campaign about pretendians and all this kind of thing, that he had come up there a couple of weeks before, threatening the people and stuff. So all these things were on file, and nobody did anything. Nobody asked, like, any question, like I said, to see if there could have been foul play. Now, the Bergen County Medical Examiner put my son's cause of death, and I was telling them from the afternoon that my son was found that no, he was murdered, period, and that they needed to look into that. Nobody was listening to me. The medical examiner put on the report, the autopsy report, that the manner of death was undetermined, but that my son had drowned. And then he put on there that there was a history of prior heart attack. Even though, me knowing how to read labs, there was no fluid at all in my son. No fluid in his lungs, no around his lungs, none in his abdominal cavity, no froth, which is drowning victims normally, if not 100% of the time, have a froth, like a foam that comes, you know, in their trachea, in their mouth, and through their nose. There was nothing. His nasal passageway was clear, patent. Just so many things. And so, where did you get this information from? I know it came from the chief, from the letter that he sent. Again, the fraudulent letter that he sent the day after my son was murdered. And if it didn't come from him direct, it came from whatever third party that got the information to the ME. Anyway, all this stuff is going down. I, for the past 2 years, have been letter writing, campaigning to get justice for my son and everything. I've hit up the sheriff. I've hit up everybody, prosecutor's office, lawyers, everybody, so-called allies who have prestige there, who can easily get help from my son, but who claim to be pro-2 clouds, but they won't do anything. So finally, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, I hit up the New Jersey Chief State Examiner, and he told me that the only way, because he said he listens to family, unlike these other MEs, who again are all part of the same troop, the same clique, Bergen County, so far as I can see, who won't listen to me, who want to be combative with me and stuff like that. He said he listens to the family, and if I have any evidence to prove to him that what is in there is false, and that because I asked him to please change the cause of death from drowning, because it's not so. There's no evidence of drowning. There's no evidence that he had a heart problem. There's no evidence that he was drunk. Okay? He told me that, you know, of course, he can't just change another medical examiner's findings, or, you know, their conclusion, unless I can prove to him. So he told me, send him any evidence that I have. I sent him about 80 to 85 pieces of evidence. They ain't got nothing to do with me. Because I'm not sitting back twiddling my thumbs, sitting over in the corner crying because my son was murdered. I'm working, okay? I don't just sit around making videos all day. Only I'm out here working. Medical examiner changed the cause of death because I was able to prove to him that what they said about my son dying of an accident and drowning wasn't logical. There was no evidence of that. It didn't make sense. So I'm going to read to you what he said. And this is an official letter. Of course, he doesn't go into great detail, but it says, I, Alexander, Zan, MD, Acting Chief State Medical Examiner, have reviewed the autopsy report, investigative reports, toxicology report, and case review letters from mother and have determined the cause of death to be undetermined and the manner of death to be undetermined. Comment. This case was reviewed 1 month ago. Based on the investigation report and autopsy report from Bergen County Medical Examiner Office, this 30-year-old male was found July 6, 2022, decomposed, floating face down in the Ramapo River at Ramapo Indian Reservation. He had a history of chest pain and chronic anxiety. He went out in his canoe in this area often, but it was stated that the deceased could not swim. His vehicle was located nearby for 3 days. No trauma was identified except for animal activity around the face. Toxicology testing revealed alcohol level of 0.124 G/100 milliliter. My initial impression is that the cause of death is drowning and manner of death is accident. The decedent's mother sent me additional information from her personal investigation. The mother of the decedent indicated that her son was an avid canoeist and that he could swim. She stated her son's chest pain was not from a previous heart attack but from anxiety. And she further stated he was unlikely drunk at the time of death. Zero chance, he has in quotes, because that's what I said. There was zero chance that he was drunk during that time. But that her son was likely killed by someone. The alcohol level of 0.124 G/100 ml is likely due to severe decomposition. Not drunk. Severe decomposition. The features of drowning cannot be identified, and the lethal injuries by someone else cannot be fully evaluated due to severe body decomposition. Due to this, it is my opinion that the cause and manner of death be certified as undetermined at this time. Why is it undetermined? He didn't see my son's body. He couldn't do an investigation himself. And again, he was very decomposed because they tossed him in the water and left him in July, in the heat in July, and left him there for animals to eat him. But he did change it to undetermined. Why? Because there's no proof that he drowns. And understand, this is what he's saying that, this is what the mother said and stated. I didn't just state it. I sent him information, tangible proof. So I sent him pictures of my son on the water in canoes. He's in one photo, he is about to get in the ocean in a canoe, a one-person canoe with nothing but a life jacket on. People who can't swim don't do that. People getting in a boat with him for him to, canoe with them in there. People who don't trust you, and with his little son, 2 years old at the time, that don't happen. People who are on his, who followed him on Facebook, on Instagram and stuff. He was always on the water, like always on the water. But he can't swim? That came from the chief. Why? Why would the chief send that letter to the medical examiner? If you're so concerned that, these are some reasons why he could be dead, first of all, why wouldn't you send it to the police? Why send it to the medical examiner? Why send it at all? If you're asking for the medical examiner to use scientific means to find out what happened to someone, why you offering them, but by the way, it could be this. I don't think he could swim. I think he told me he had a heart attack. About a year ago, he went to the hospital. It might be that. Or you know what? This guy came up here 2 weeks ago, and I even filed a criminal report against him. He was making threats. Maybe that could be him. This is what he's doing. But when him telling everybody for months, he could still be doing it for all I know, but for months telling people that two was drunk. Here's what I know. My son, Murid Abdullah Muhammad, Nishakumakwak, Two Clouds, was murdered by people who he loved, by people who he fought for, more than even their mamas and daddies and great-great-great-grandmamas and daddies did for them. He gave to the people. He gave his life to the people, and they murdered him. The people who murdered him smiled in his face, called him cousin, called him nephew, called him comrade. They traveled with him. They learned from him. They plotted against him. They murdered him. This is a fact. My son was murdered, and it ain't no fucking way in hell that they gonna go on living their lives free and happy, or my son laying in the grave, rotting away. Not gonna happen. So I suggest y'all who did this, who plotted against Murid, who murdered him, who are still conspiring to keep it quiet, buckle up, get your lawyers, because I'm coming for that ass. Take it any way you want to, I don't care. And as a lesson to everybody listening to this, let me tell you, do not be afraid of these people. So what? They got degrees and they got little cushy jobs and they have, these people backing them. So what? There's one in control of this. Songwa Edison. Kishila Mongwe. Allah Ta'ala. The creator of everything, seen and unseen, massive and minuscule. There's one in control of this. When your people, your loved ones, your children have been ripped away from you by demonic, evil, jealous, envious people who smile in your face. Do you know that bastard who murdered my son had the nerve to come to the funeral and hug me and tell me everything gonna be all right? Everything gonna be all right. Best believe. You got the right one. You got the right one.